Hey guys, as you know, the landscape is shifting fast. AI is changing how software gets built. Agents are showing up in every part of the stack, and the architecture underneath all of it is going to have to change with it. Synadia, as the main contributors to NATS, our entire history is composed of thinking about how distributed systems talk to each other. When we start to look at the agentic world, we think a lot of this ends up at the edge. Agents on devices, in remote environments, in places where you can't lean on a centralized backend. Once you're there, those agents need a fabric, something that handles discovery, messaging, and security across clouds, across devices, across environments you don't fully control. NATS was built for exactly that world. A lot of what you'd otherwise have to go build for agents is already there, out of the box. So we've started exploring this. We're going to look at the direction we're heading with a repo we recently released. It's called Synadia Agents. We'll keep it simple, just dive into a few things, and follow up in future videos as we explore further. Let's dig in. All right, so as I was saying, we just released this repo. All I want to do right now is get our feet a little wet and explore it. We're going to do a series of videos on this, and things are likely going to change over time as this is in development. Let's check it out and play around. Claude, Hermes, and Pi each have a startup time extension mechanism. For Claude, it's an MCP server, exposes tools, resources, and prompts via JSON RPC. For Hermes, it's a gateway, a persistent background process that bridges the agent to external systems. For Pi, it's an extension, a TypeScript module that hooks into the harness and registers tools. MCP servers load when Claude starts a session, installed through the plugin system. Hermes gateways install as system user services and run persistently. Pi extensions load from the global or project local extensions folder when the harness starts. All three register on the NATS agent protocol fabric as microservices, endpoints for prompts, status, and heartbeats. Once registered, any agent on the fabric can discover and call any other. Claude goes through an MCP server that speaks NATS. Hermes and Pi embed the Synadia Agent SDK and register directly. From a meta agent's perspective, they're all just endpoints on the fabric, discoverable, callable, and composable into a single distributed pipeline, regardless of runtime. So let's check out this repo real quick. Essentially, the Synadia agent protocol will let any AI agent register itself as a NATS microservice. This repo contains some pre-built channel plugins, the client and agent SDK, and also some examples on how to use them. Right now, we're just going to show how to use the pre-built channel plugins. So let's check out that section up here under Agents, and we'll first check out the Claude Code plugin. So the Claude Code plugin includes an MCP server, and this server registers an agent's microservice, and it will expose an endpoint for us. And you'll be seeing more endpoints that look like this. So whatever system you're on will require these prerequisites. You're going to need Bun installed and the NAT CLI. And then we'll just follow this quick setup. Let's try it right now. All right, let's get this plugin in Claude. First things first, load Claude up, obviously. Then we're going to want to go to Plugins and then go over to Marketplaces. Then choose Add Marketplace, and I want to do it this way just to show how to do it within Claude. So we're going to add the Synadia Agents repo here just by typing it in. And this is going to clone the repo into Claude's cache, and then we can install the plugin. And this is important. I'm going to install it locally for this directory and this user. And now it's installed, so we're going to reload our plugins and then just check it to make sure for sanity's sake. So we type plugins again, and we can check just to make sure everything's good. Go over to installed, there it is, and we're good to go. You see the MCP server there and the plugin. Now first, I just want to show that I'm connected to a NATS context already, and I'm connected to Synadia's NGS. And now I'm going to configure our plugin to pick up from this to use that context. So I'm going to call the NATS configure skill here, and then I'm going to choose that context. And this is going to configure everything for us. And you can see here my session name, my permissions, and the subject I can send messages to. So now we're going to exit Claude and then restart it with a special flag that we need to run. So because this is still in development, this is a development channel. Anthropic will flag it, so we have to use this flag here. So it's gonna give a little warning here for untrusted channels, but we can trust this. So now let's run nats micro list to just show that we have this set up. And there you go. You can see our microservice is now up and registered. We can even make a request to a system subject. Let's get information on our agent service. And this is going to show us a lot of things, but we can see that our agent is Claude Code and the owner is my user. We can also see our status and prompt endpoints here. And then I can also ping it. It's just a NATS microservice after all. All right, let's actually send a message through NATS to my Claude and then get a response. And note the subject here. We're using cc.theowner, which is currently my user, and then the directory I started Claude in. All right, let's give it a rip. And I'm basically going to ask it, who goes there? So you can see the message went through, and I'm asking it, who are you? And Claude's going to hullabaloo, and it's going to get back to me. And look, I'm running as Claude Code in Peter's Synadia Agents repo, the home for Synadia's agent protocol SDKs, agent plugins, and examples. Cool. And now I want to do something funky. I'm going to run Claude Code on my Raspberry Pi and talk to it through NATS on this computer. So to be very obvious and explicit, I'm going to use Pi Connect to connect to my Pi. I could SSH into it, but I really wanted to show that I'm not doing this on my computer. It's on my Pi. And I'm going to use the remote shell. All right, so now I'm in my Pi. Let's get things set up. And because I'm on my Raspberry Pi, I'm going to use the Pi harness. So I already have Pi installed on here, but I need to configure it. So we'll start it up and use the login command to get things set up. I need to get an API key and pick my model. So I want to use DeepSeek for this one, just to change things up. I'll pick DeepSeek and put in my API key that you guys can't see, and we're good to go. So I'm going to exit the chat, and I want to install the NATS channel on Pi. So run this command, and it's going to go for a little bit because my Pi is slower. So we set up the NATS channel for Pi, and now I just want to show that I had already previously set up a context for NATS. Again, I'm using NGS, and I just want to configure Pi to make sure it's using the right context. So I'm going to open this again and run nats config and just pass in my context. And then I'll close out of Pi and open it back up again. And now we're going to mess with it. All right, I'm back in my terminal here, and I have Pi Connect here on the right. And I'm going to run nats micro really quick. And there you go. You can see we have our Pi agent registered now. All right, let's do something fun. We're going to send a message to Claude and tell Claude to message our Pi agent and then get back to us. And here's my message. I'm asking it to tell me who it is, and then message my Pi agent and ask it if it's on a Raspberry Pi. We're being very crude right now. There's probably a cooler way to do this, but let's see if it works. Now Claude is going to ask me for permissions and things like it usually does. You can actually walk it through and configure it in the terminal like this, like you usually do, but there's also a way to do it through NATS. We'll show that off later. All right, you can see that Claude is messaging my Pi agent, and my Pi agent is now responding. And then ultimately, Claude will get back with one response to my terminal. And this is cool. It's all going through NATS. I didn't have to configure anything. No routers or gateways or anything. And there we go. We got our final message. And you can see it here. It says, who am I? I'm Claude Code Opus 4.7, Anthropic's official CLI. I'm running against the Synadia Agents repo. Cool. And then you can also see the reply from our Pi agent. Yes, you're running on a Raspberry Pi, Model 4. So pretty neat. And clearly you can look over at the Pi Connect terminal on the right and see that the Pi agent did in fact respond that way. All right, so far so good. Let's check out the Hermes agent. All right, let's look at the NATS gateway for the Hermes agent. So first thing you're going to want to do is clone the fork, and when this is accepted, it'll go in. And then it's really simple. You just run the setup Hermes script and it installs and starts prompting you, and you can just go through the wizard mostly. And then eventually, when you get to the end, you have a choice of running this as a service or running it manually. And we're just going to run it manually for now. All right, so I clone the repo and I'll run the script and it'll go for a minute and then we'll walk through the wizard. So it's going to ask if I want to set up. I can just say yes. And then it's going to come to a menu and I can pick my model. And this time I'm going to use Codex. So I signed in and now I'm going to pick my model. And here we go. We're going to set up messaging and we should just come down. There's NATS. So we're going to configure NATS. And here I'm going to pick my existing context, NGS. So I'm just going to keep owner as that. And for session, I'm just going to call this Hermes 1. And here we go. It's going to ask me if I want to set up the gateway as a systemd service. And you can see it can start on boot, but I want to do this manually. And now it's asking me if I want to open the chat. I don't right now. I just want to run the gateway. All right, let's play with it. I currently don't have anything running, so if I check NATS micro, nothing will be there. And now we'll start the Hermes gateway and check again. All right, the gateway's up. Let's give it another try. All right, cool. My agent is up. And let's just check the service again for fun and confirmed my Hermes agent is there. All right, we're going to do something a little different this time. We're going to run a little program that is using the client SDK to communicate with our agent. We'll just take a quick glance at it. First thing we do is we import the agents SDK. Then we use agents.discover to discover our agents. For this, we're just going to pick the first one. Then the user enters a prompt and we call run turn. We pass that data in the agent. And then finally, we prompt the agent and get the response. And this is in the repo under client SDK under Python. And we're going to use the chat example. All right, so I'm going to run it. You can see our agent's already confirmed there, but let's just ask it who it is. Cool, it's the Hermes agent. So I'm going to start up my other two agents, Claude and Pi, and we're going to talk to them. All right, the other two agents are up, and let's see what we can do here. I'm going to ask it to ask my Pi for a poem. Let's see what we get. And we're off. It's thinking, and we should see something over in the Pi console. There we go. Please write a quick poem. A quiet thought, a gentle breeze, a whispered word among the trees. The morning light begins to climb, and so I offer up this rhyme. No grand design, no epic quest, just simple words to put to test, a fleeting verse, a spark of gleam to slip between the seams of dream. Let's see what Claude thinks of this. Aw, Claude thinks it's a lovely little piece. So one last thing I just want to mess with is I want to sub to the agent's heartbeat and just watch the heartbeats flowing from my three agents. So yeah, pretty cool. The NATS channel plugins working pretty seamlessly. Didn't have to set up any gateways or any proxies or anything. It's just easy. So that was the first part of our little exploration into the Synadia Agents repo. We explored a few of the NATS channel plugins, but there's actually a few more available, like OpenAgent and OpenClaw. Next, we're going to go over what else is in the repo, mess with headless agents, and then show what the SDKs can do. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.